Oh, come on. Come on, you piece of junk. Come on, start, not again. Oh, let's see if the radio still works. Yeah, well, yeah, there's, oh, that show Motor Mouse is on.
Stop Absolute Auto Repair. Matheson. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Jeff.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
So, is it drizzling out there?
Yes, certain places of town they were drizzling.
There's pockets of drizzle.
Well, coming off the Good Lake,
yeah,
there were coming some drizzle right there.
It wasn't
the post office.
I rode my bike and I didn't get drizzled.
No, you got on that side of the town. There wasn't any.
Okay.
No.
All right. So we got the local weather report on the Motor Mouse Show, which you weren't expecting, I know.
And it was up for Fuma Canyon. It was foggy, drizzly.
Okay, yeah. Foggy, drizzly. Yeah, that's a technical weather term.
Yeah.
So we are a live call-in car talk show here on KVC, celebrating its 80th birthday today. And
yes, May 6th.
Today.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
May 6th, 1937.
Happy birthday, KVEC.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to you.
So Matt and I were a part of this back at the KVEC studios at the old house on Choro Street, probably about 27 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
And we had a good ride, and we've enjoyed it a lot, and glad it's still going on.
Yeah, it's great. The oldest continuously operating radio station on the Central Coast and one of the oldest in California.
Awesome. And it's good to be a live talk show, live local talk show. We really enjoy it. You know,
they have expanded, or they were bigger. They had the television station, too.
Yeah.
And I can remember when I first opened up in business in 1961, I became a member of the JCs. And we went on a trip up to the tower on top of Cresta Grade, where they have the sending unit, and they have a small room up there, and we were there for a program of some sort. I can't remember now what it was. And then they also have the building in downtown, or off Choro Street, just by the freeway. They built a bomb-proof building there. This was during the Cold War part. And so they could, and they were in charge of sending out the messages in case we got bombed, or what we should do and what we shouldn't do.
And radio was the number one thing then. I mean, this is before television, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So this is, radio was it. So it was the source of information, and things have changed a bit.
Bob Brown was the head honcho there, and he did a fantastic job.
Yeah. It's amazing how it's changed. I mean, we've had to evolve with it, the radio and podcasting, and now we're AM and FM, and it's amazing. But KVC has managed to stay through all of it.
Yeah,
and you just have to learn to adapt to the new way things are operating. But yeah, it's 80 years today. 1937, May 6th.
Local radio. So we appreciate all of you out there that keep local radio going. And we are the Motor Mouse. We would love to hear from you. So we are talking about cars. So if you have a car question, a car story, or maybe you're working on your car and you need some advice, maybe you're thinking about a problem on your car you want to talk about. Maybe you have a relationship issue that relates to your car. We'll put you on the Motor Mouth couch. Maybe you have a pet peeve about other drivers on the road. Perhaps we'd love to talk about that too. So the phone lines are open, 543-8830. That's 543-8830. The first caller will win a premium, so you can have your choice of quite a few things at Continental Motor Works that you might like. So be that first caller. We can talk. Matt and I are semi-interesting, and we have a whole bunch of topics here in our notebooks, but this show is so much more interesting when we don't get to our topics. So help us not get to our topics and call us, 543-8830.
And if you are a parent that don't know what you're going to do with your child or the young person in your household this summer, you might think about taking a summer school at either Allen Hancock College or Cresta Grade. They have summer classes in automotive.
Cuesta College.
Cuesta College?
You said Cuesta Grade.
Cuesta Grade. I said Cuesta Grade. Well, they are on both sides of the Cuesta Grade.
Yeah.
So they have in North County and here.
There you go.
So, but anyway, there are summer schools, and that will keep them occupied for 5 weeks. So think about that.
Uh-huh. So I was going to talk a little bit about cruise control today.
Good.
Because I think it's something that, some people use it. I think a lot of people don't.
Is that the way that the boats? Are those the boats?
Yeah,
the
take a cruise.
Boats?
That's right.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Cruise control is a great tool that you can use on your car. Number one, so you can set to a certain speed and keep it there. But I think, number one, it helps you drive the speed limit. For me, personally, I use it for a couple of reasons. It helps drive the speed limit. It keeps you in check. It also, can save your brakes because it keeps you a little bit at a lower speed, especially, driving through town or coming down hills or things like that. And now it saves you money, saves on gas if you're driving a little bit steadier. Yep. We're going to get back to cruise control because we want to talk to Smitty in SLO. Hi, Smitty. Good morning.
Morning, Jeff. How are you doing?
We're good. How are you today?
Trying to wake up, but I'm okay.
Thanks for calling. What would you like to talk about today?
Oh, I was just curious about oil issue.
Mm-hmm.
I have been using synthetic in both of my cars for years, quite a few years. I have two older 203 Ford vehicles. One's a Windstar, one's an Explorer. And on the Windstar, I'm one of those that gets my synthetic Mobil 1 from Costco, which is by far the best place, price-wise. But I wanted to get my Windstar oil changed because it was low and really dirty, but the oil wasn't on sale at Costco. So I decided to go ahead and switch to, it was a Chevron, or, brand. And just wondered if that's any big deal, to switch back to regular oil.
Yeah, good question. There's a lot of great oils out there. And Chevron is a great oil. Mobil 1 is the name in oil. They've been making, they were the number one synthetic oil, way from the get-go. I think the others, though, have caught up. So I'm not a proponent of, Mobil 1 is the bestest oil. In fact, what I like about a lot of the there's a lot of synthetic blends out there now that I think are much more reasonable in price, because, cost is certainly a factor. And so, we're using a lot more synthetic blend oils at the shop, to keep the price down. And, we're using a Haviland synthetic blend.
Oh, yeah? Uh-huh.
So, I think, you can look for synthetic blends on sale. And I think as long as you're going with a name brand oil, I think you'll also find that, like, for instance, you go to Napa and they have their own name. They have their name on a synthetic blend instead of buying, Mobil 1 or instead of buying Chevron. And it can be less expensive. But I think you'll find that they don't make their oil. Their oil is probably made by Chevron.
Yeah. They got to buy it from somebody.
Yeah, so it's probably, once again, a good oil. You might want to ask them and see if they have some specs on that. But yeah, I think it's good to shop and keep, because things change over time. And I think this is one of the things that has changed over time. I think when we first were starting to do the radio show 27 years ago, we could say, Mobil 1 was the synthetic oil. And I think now, if you buy a name brand synthetic blend, I think you're doing fine.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. I mean, because companies like Pennzoil, how can you go wrong with that kind of product? But jumping from synthetic back to like just regular oil, that's not a big deal, is it?
No, you can do it, and a lot of people think you can't. So I've have customers call me and they go, "Hey, I'm 2 quarts low on oil, and I don't have the right oil." Well, just put oil in it.
Yeah.
You can.
Right.
You're actually just making your own blend anyhow. So just like they have synthetic blends. So yes, you can mix 2 cans of synthetic.
Well, I'll probably switch back to synthetic just because I mentally feel better about it.
My favorite choice right now is a synthetic blend, just because of the cost difference and everything else.
Yeah, and of course the changing the filter each time is probably the most important, isn't it?
Always change the filter. Yeah, every time you change the oil.
The biggest changes in oil is in diesel. The new things for diesel engines now is the new oils, and you can't put the old style. That even the synthetic oil, they have new style oils which will slow down the soot that's created by the diesels.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oil technology right now is amazing.
It's
the lubrication
changing.
technology, it's really great. But, we do believe that synthetic oils are superior, and especially, we always talk about what is the most wear that takes place in your car. Well, it's when you first start it cold. And synthetic molecules stay where they were in the first place. They don't tend to drain back into the crankcase. They stay in the nooks and crannies. And so that's really one of the biggest benefits of synthetic oil. Number 1, on cold start. Number 2, in extreme temperatures, either really hot, when you get over 100 degrees, your oil might thin out a little bit more, and synthetic doesn't tend to. And the same thing when it's really cold.
Yeah.
The oil is thicker and doesn't get in all of the different places in the engine. Where it's supposed to, and the synthetic does stay, the viscosity stays more consistent over all of the temperature ranges and the heat ranges. So,
yeah, right on. Okay,
stuff.
well, thank you so much, and congratulations. I think you said 27 years?
No, I think...
Well, 80 years for
80.
KBC,
Well, yeah, KBC.
and about 27
I
years
know.
for
I've
the
been
Motor Mouse.
listening to Dave Congleton, and, that like all day yesterday. They kind of had the old timers in there, and it was pretty cool to hear some of the history.
Yeah, and I know you've been calling into the show for a long time, Smitty, so we appreciate that a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have a great
Thank you.
weekend, and thanks for being a part of the show. And stop in. You want a premium at Continental Motor Works, stop in and collect on it.
All right.
Thanks,
and I
Smitty.
get some popcorn, too.
There you go.
All right. Bye-bye.
Good
That's
talking
right.
to you.
You do have a nice snack of popcorn in there.
Yeah, we got that. People comment on I first got the idea, of course, going to Miners Hardware, at which, used to be, what was it called before Miners?
I'm not sure.
Remember
it's Miners.
Yeah, and so...
across the street, it was...
so they've always had a popcorn machine, and everybody always loves it, And so I thought, 2 things. Number 1, you want to find, nobody loves going to get their car fixed. So you want to find a reason to put a smile on someone's face. And number 2, you got all kinds of smells in the shop, exhaust and oils and stuff like that. And so having a popcorn smell kind of covers. It's kind of nice. So,
it is. Yeah. So, and it's good popcorn, actually.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been great. We love it. So we got some fresh popcorn going, and we invite you to stop by and have some. Yeah. So, Smitty's been a long-time caller of the show, and we appreciate that. And we'd love to hear from you. Call us, 543-8830. Matt and I are the Motor Mouse, Mr. Stop and Mr. Go, and we're here talking about cars. And we were talking about cruise control a little bit. Now, do you use your cruise control
I use
a
it,
lot?
especially if I'm going to drive slow.
Yeah.
For example, on the Frontage Road down by the park in Morro Bay, it's 30 miles an hour. It's very difficult to drive 30 miles an hour.
Right, it
but
is.
you can put it on 30 miles an hour speed control, and don't worry about it. The ranger is not going to come in and look at for you or anything like that. There might be some people behind you that doesn't like you, but so what?
It's a challenge to drive the speed limit these days.
Yes, it is.
Because everybody's, many people are speeding. So cruise control can help you.
Absolutely.
And then you're not, because we're all competitive.
Yeah.
So even if you're not thinking about it, you're driving along and somebody passes you and you speed up a little bit.
Yeah.
It's just like human nature. So cruise control kind of keeps you from doing that.
Right.
I actually noticed that coming into the station this morning because I come in on 227 where it's 55.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you get into the city limits and it's 45.
Right.
And then I look down and I'm doing 55 still.
Right. Yeah. It's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it helps you drive the speed limit, but you don't want to let the car's not going to drive itself, although there are some cars that do that these days. So don't let cruise control lull you into a non-active driving role. Make sure that you're still actively driving. Now cars have adaptive cruise control, which can help you stay safer. It keeps you a safe distance from the car in front of you. And you can, now I don't know that much about the adaptive cruise control yet. I don't have a car that has it. But, we talk about the 3-second rule.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the adaptive cruise control can help you with that because you can set it, you can adjust it to when it starts slowing the car down.
Yeah.
And so I think that could be a really good tool also. Those of you out there that have adaptive cruise control and are using it, call us and tell us about it. How does it work for you? 543-8830. We're going to go to our first break of the day. We've heard from Smitty. We'd love to hear from you. Please call your Motor Mouse.
And we are going to go to our first break. I got a classic commercial here. I figured you might like this, Matt. Actually, it's an old Goodyear tire commercial from 1970 talking about all the new things in the 1970 Goodyear tires.
When the job is tough and the roads are too, a man needs a tire that can take it. Here's a tough Goodyear tire with 2 fiberglass belts, big on mileage wherever you drive. A wide flat tread that's big on traction to hang on through the curves. A polyester cord body that's big on strength to soak up the shocks. Goodyear custom wide tread polyglass tire. Big on traction. Big on strength. Big on mileage. Big on value. And if it doesn't say Goodyear, it can't be polyglass.
When it's time to service your car,
Or a warning light is starting to glow.
go see the pros at Absolute Auto.
At the corner of Sacramento and Capitolio.
Having a problem with the brakes or the steering down below?
Or an alignment to adjust the tow.
Computer systems, they do know.
Call 543-8737 to reach Absolute Auto.
Here's some inside information to get your gas mileage back. Inside your engine, carbon builds up, clogging the injectors and combustion area. If you want your fuel system cleaned in just 1 tank of fuel, use what the inside car guys use most. It's called BG44K. In fact, service managers use it almost 3-to-1 over any other fuel system cleaner. To find a shop with BG products, go to bgfindashop.com. That's bgfindashop.com.
BG.
Hi, this is Jeff Spivak, Motormouth co-host and owner of Continental Motorworks. What can you expect here at Continental? We will treat you and your car with care and respect and gratitude. We will bend over backwards to earn your trust. You will fully understand what we are doing on your car and know how much it will cost before we do the work. You will always get value, a fair exchange. You work hard for your money. We believe we should work smarter and harder for what you pay us for. Now in our 36th year, we fix it all. Cars, trucks, SUVs, and hybrids.
Call Jeff at Continental Motorworks at 541-1464. Mention this ad and receive 10% off labor.
And we are back. We are the Motor Mouse, Mr. Stop and Mr. Go, here live and direct from KVEC Studios. KVEC's having his 80th birthday today, and we invite you to call in and talk about cars or tell us how long you've been listening to KVEC. I know some of you probably had called in when we were down on Charles Street way back when, and phone line's still the same, 543-8830.
Some things never change.
Some of you might be listening on FM 96.5 now, but we're still KBEC.
Some might be listening on the web.
There you go.
Yeah.
You know, however,
We've
just
evolved.
had that ad on a Goodyear tire.
Yeah.
Those tires were nice tires, but they would wear the second rib from the outside. The outside rib wouldn't wear much, but the second rib in would wear.
Had a problem, huh?
Well, it didn't have a big enough, wide enough belt. You see, that outside rib was not supported by the glass belt.
Mm-hmm.
And so that would flex out of the way, and then all the wear would be on the second rib. They had a lot of problem with that. People thought they had problem with tire, with the alignment on it.
But it was the tire itself, the manufacturing.
The way it was built.
Yeah.
And Shell Oil used to sell a lot of those. They were produced, I think, by Goodyear. And I got some comments on that.
Did they have the Shell?
So.
Did they have the Shell name on them?
Yeah.
So they didn't have any Goodyear marking on them.
I can't remember now what that was, but anyway, it was. I know what it was. You know, I figured it out. But the gas stations that the customer came back to the gas station and said, my tires are not wearing right. And evidently one thing, Skis sold a lot of tires. And the Ski Shell Service. And one day he had the people from the tire company, from Shell Tires, there, and he says, and I told him what I thought the problem was. So they sent those guys over to my shop, and I told them what I thought, and they just said, yeah, you're right.
Sure, what are you going to say?
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
So you notice that the new, radial tires, they're round. They're not flat like that. That's in order so they can get the belt. Everything is supported by the belt or the sidewalls.
Technology has come a long way. Just we were talking to Smitty about oils and synthetic oils. Well, and tires also, just amazing.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk to Brian in SLO. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, guys.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. What would you like to talk about today?
I'm currently in the market for a new vehicle or slightly used, and I was thinking to go to a truck, and I've not owned a truck before or in decades. And just from your experiences, working on them, I don't know if you give out that kind of advice or suggestions, but what ones are kind of lemony, what ones are pretty dependable and reliable?
I like that term, lemony. Yeah,
lemony.
That's
I think
good. That was a good one.
You might squeeze it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a few questions first. Are you talking about a smaller truck?
Yes, a smaller truck. I don't need hauling
thing?
Per se, or a V8 or a diesel.
Well, they make some great trucks these days. Although there's not as many choices in smaller trucks as there used to be. But you used to have, a Mazda pickup and a Ford Ranger. I don't even know that they're making the Ranger anymore.
Yeah, no, actually Ford doesn't have a Ranger.
Although you could buy a used Ranger. So the Motor Mouth formula for buying a car, unless if there's a new model that you really like, is about 3 years old and about 30 to 50,000 miles. I mean, you're basically getting a new car as long as it hasn't been abused and you can see that they've taken care of it and haven't taken it a lot off-road and done a lot of towing with it. That's what you want to be careful with a truck. Then you can you can almost buy it for half of a new price.
Wow.
For instance, let's say that truck, a new Tacoma is, I'm guessing a new Tacoma is $35,000.
Yes.
And I bet you could buy a 3-year-old Tacoma with 50,000 miles on it for under $20,000.
Really?
Yeah, I would guess. If you can find one.
Yeah, if you can find one. I have actually, I was looking, I went to Edmunds.com. They have a little, search for used vehicles. And ironically, the Tacoma was the one that held value pretty well.
Tacoma's the toughest one to get. Yeah.
Right. But, most of the others did. Yeah, I'd rather someone else eat up that depreciation.
Although if you find, you could get last year's model new. That's a good way to buy a new car.
Oh, when the new inventories come in and they want to get rid of them.
Yeah, or a vehicle that's been a lease vehicle, and maybe it's just a couple years old off a lease. Also go into some of the car rental companies I know Hertz, I think, has a lot across from the airport, and I think Enterprise has a lot down in Ventura, and you can find quite a few fairly new vehicles with only maybe less than 20,000 miles on them.
And in general, and when one is buying a used vehicle, assuming we have a quality mechanic like Continental Motor Works, would we bring it in for an inspection, or
We have what's called a vehicle pre-purchase inspection that what I really don't like to do is a vehicle post-purchase inspection. Because people come in and they go, hey, I just bought this. What kind of shape is it in? Well, why didn't you come in before and say, hey, I want to buy this? What kind of shape is it in? Because I can help you so much more that way instead of giving you the bad news after you buy it. Now, maybe it is great, but, if you bring it in before you buy it, number one, we can tell you, it's a great vehicle. It hasn't been in an accident. And, it's everything they say it is. Or, it's a really great vehicle, but, it didn't have its 60,000-mile service. And so you're going to be faced with that cost. Or, maybe, they didn't do their services properly or something, actually give you some bargaining power and get you $1,000 off of the vehicle that you wouldn't have known. So, you pay us about $150 for this inspection, and you can save quite a bit of money, and it also gives you the peace of mind. And we're your advocate. So, if you're buying it from a dealer, you want somebody checking it out that's independent, that's in your court. So,
and is
it similar to, regular automobiles or light trucks or small trucks? Do they have similar replacement things at various miles, like, the timing belt at, 80,000 or whenever? Do they have similar major maintenance points at
They do. Yeah, very similar, especially on a smaller truck. But timing belts are pretty much have gone to the, a lot of vehicles don't have timing belts anymore, which is great. You don't have to worry about that. But things like that we carp about here, like the 60,000-mile fluids, like changing the coolant and the trans fluid and the brake fluid. And now a truck might if you're getting a four-wheel drive, you may actually have a little bit more service to do on it, like changing the front diff and the rear diff and the transfer case fluids. But that's only every 60,000 miles, so it's not a huge deal. Trucks, they're great. They last a long time. They're pretty similar to cars. What I was going to say is, since the Tacoma is so tough to find and so expensive, is I like the Ranger as an option. Right. I think they were making Rangers up till a couple years ago.
Okay.
So one thing I would warn against would be to buy one from an auction. Quite often you can... They tell you to... You can talk to somebody that handles these things and says, I'm going to the auction. You want me to buy a car for you? Well... That would be careful. I've seen some cars come into the shop which had some collision damage, and you don't know that. Yeah. And when you buy it in the auction, you buy it, you don't see it.
Especially have a vehicle pre-purchased done if it's an auction.
That's very difficult if you're an auction.
Yeah.
And I actually have a question for Matt. Kind of goes along these lines too. Matt, you kind of more specialize in the suspension and all that.
Yeah.
And can somebody bring in a car and have somebody like that does the kind of work that you did, inspect the suspension and
all that stuff? Absolutely. We used to do that all the time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay. We didn't do a full inspection. I mean, we would inspect the suspension and the brakes. That was usually what we would take a look at. But we didn't get involved with the engines, and so we didn't charge as much either.
Brian, what specific trucks are you interested in?
I was actually, Tacoma was one, the Nissan Frontier. I went to Ford's website just to see what they had and noticed, there are no Rangers, no longer Rangers being produced.
Although they are making the F-150 smaller than they used to.
But I was looking at something like I think the extra, the four-door, the extra cab or super cab, I forget which is which, but the one with the four-door. And I know a lot of truck advocates say, then it's not really a truck because you're getting a shorter bed. It's like, well, I kind of like the idea of a shorter bed. I don't see myself hauling a lot of large items, and you always drop the tailgate and rope it down nicely. So
I would agree with you. So I think buying a small truck with the extra cab so you can have a real back seat.
Yes.
So actually 4 doors there. So now you can use it as even a trip car, and a short bed is probably enough. I mean, it depends what your obviously if you're a construction person, you need a long bed. But if you're buying it as a all-purpose vehicle or a multi-purpose vehicle, then the short bed's probably good enough.
Yeah, that was my reasoning as well. And if there's a time when I need more bed length, you rent a U-Haul or something for $30 for the day or something. So
sure, and what you can make them pretty cool now. You can have a locking cover for that bed, which makes it really secure. You can put a little shell on it if you want to, or there's all kinds of different things you can do with them now that make them. Really.
And one last thing, I do subscribe to Consumer Reports, and of course they're in love with the Honda Ridgeline, which I don't know if I've even seen one around here. Mm-hmm. The Tacoma is kind of like the Mazda 3; you just see them everywhere.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, go ahead. Finish what.
I was going to say, so that either they're great value or people love them, and I see a couple of the Nissans. And the GMC, Chevy, I forget what they're the Colorado and the something.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot, but it's like dominated by Tacoma. But I don't recall ever seeing a Honda Ridgeline.
Yeah.
But Consumer Reports loved it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So in my subjective view, the Tacoma's number one.
Yeah.
Number one choice. Followed though. If you can find a 2 or 3 year old, like a 3-year-old Ranger, I think that would be. So the Tacoma, just for the best truck, would be number one, and probably number 2 might be the Ridgeline, and number 3 might be the F-150 as far as quality. Now the advantage, and then value. The value pick would be the Ranger.
Right.
The other advantage to going with an F-150 is there's so many of them out there.
Yeah, a lot of parts.
You'll have
available.
more choice.
Yeah.
Well,
and I do prefer Ford over Chevy. And I don't want to offend all the Chevy fans, but Chevy is not real well known for their transmissions.
Right. And although they've done, the Silverado, although it's a bigger truck, is really a good product. Yeah. So.
Okay. Well, I have more things to consider, and I appreciate the advice.
All right, Brian. Thanks again for calling, and hope we helped.
Thank you. You did.
All right.
Let us know what you bought.
Oh, I will do.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend,
Bye-bye.
Brian. Thank you. All right. We're the Motor Mouse. We're Matt and Jeff. We've talking to people about cars, and we hope we can talk to you about anything you'd like to talk about. You want to talk about traffic on the road and your pet peeves about it. You want to talk about a warning light on, or a car story, or a trip. Summer's coming up, and we're talking about taking car trips and maybe the kind of things that you should have in your car when you're taking a trip and the way you should prepare and things like that. We'd like to bring that topic into play also. So whatever you want to talk about cars, we're in 543-8830. That's 543-8830.
We're talking about driving. I drive a little bit slower than most people. I would say probably 5 miles an hour slower.
Mm-hmm.
So when they pass me, they pull in right in front of me.
Right.
I mean, there is at the time they start turning, there might not be more than 10 feet. Because they speed up. So
it's crazy. I know.
It's absolutely crazy.
It was what the highway patrolman was talking about, too. Yeah. People have less of that idea or awareness about what tailgating is and how close you should be. I think everybody's come to accept that we're just little sardines and we're all next to each other, but it's not a safe way to drive. And I agree with you. It's so then you have to slow down even more.
I mean, see, I'm on speed control.
You back up a little.
So I'm driving at 67 miles an hour, let's say.
Yeah.
And somebody that's driving 69 passed me, and I don't have to slow down, but I mean, if something should happen, it's pretty close.
It upsets your whole 3-second rule when somebody does that. Let's talk to Mary in SLO. Hi, Mary.
Hello. I have a car story.
Oh, great.
A friend was driving in Los Angeles traffic, worst case scenario, on a Friday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
something came up on her car screen, said something about transmission, and it just happened suddenly, and the car basically, I don't know if it turned off or she couldn't drive it or something. Anyway, she said the whole thing stopped. Anyway, she was able, by putting on her flashers and the blessing of other drivers seeing that, to get over a couple of lanes of traffic onto the side of the road. So she wasn't killed, but she felt like she could have been. Had it towed, and it turned out it was a computer component in the transmission, whatever that is, which they just bought another one and plopped it in. The car is still under warranty. How often does that happen? I mean, was that just a freak occurrence? Because it worries me about, what do you do when something like that happens?
I think she did the right thing.
Exactly.
By putting the four-way signal on the people.
Exactly.
Especially in L.A., they understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, if they see something like that, see somebody's in trouble, they will give you room.
Yeah.
Now, if you were driving in San Francisco, that's a different thing.
But she did and that was my first instinct when you were talking was, wow, she put her emergency flashes on right away. What a great idea.
Absolutely.
What a great way to do it. I mean, you
remember where that is. Yeah. I think that's the important thing.
So that's number one, is to know where that is and to use it. I think what you're saying is, how often does your car mess up, when it gives you a big thing like that? It can happen. Cars are really complicated, and I think we tend to take them for granted. And there's a lot of computer systems on them and things like that. But it doesn't happen too often. I think the biggest things to do are, if you maintain your car properly, you can keep it from having a breakdown like that. And especially talking about transmissions, I don't know how many miles she had on it, but changing the transmission fluid every 5 years or every 60,000 miles can also keep you from having that. But it's still not impossible that this kind of thing.
She had 8,000, a little over 8,000 miles.
Well, that's one of those.
So that's just one of the fluky things. It happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she did the right thing. She once again, I guess you always want to. I guess when I went to traffic school, they said, always think about what are you going to do if something happens? What's your out? So it is a good lesson. Okay, if you're starting to have a problem with your car, first thing to do, turn your emergency flashes on. I think that's a great idea, and she did exactly the right thing.
Yeah.
Well, she survived, but it was very frightening and difficult for her to get back in that car after it was repaired and keep on driving on an L.A. freeway, because she had to get to where she was going.
Exactly.
And it was scary.
Yep. Understood.
So I guess we all need to be reminded occasionally that we take our lives in our hands, basically, when we get into that big bunch of steel.
And I think that's important to do. I think to take driving seriously and realize that, that you are driving a big metal machine that can be a weapon, and other people are too. And the more that you take good heed of that and the more careful you are, probably the less that's going to happen. But it does happen.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
We appreciate your story. Thank you very much. Let's talk to Roy from AG. Hi, Roy.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for taking my call. Enjoy the show. Say, you were talking about various pickups, and I'd like to share my enthusiasm for the Ford Ranger.
Mm-hmm.
Over the years, going back to the 80s, I've had 6 different Rangers and didn't part with them until all of them had about 170,000 miles, and I'll say they're virtually a trouble-free vehicle, which I kind of tricked them up a little bit with various things. I like to put a snug top on one, but really, you say they don't make them anymore. Well, the last Ranger year was 2011.
Oh, it has been longer than I thought. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's been 6 years. Okay.
Okay. I had a perfectly good 2007 Ranger with a snug top on the back, which I dearly loved. But 2 months ago, I became aware of a 2011 Ranger built in November 11. It must have been one of the last trucks off the line.
Mm-hmm.
I have it in my garage. It has 5,000 300 miles on it.
Maybe you should talk to Brian.
But I don't know.
He probably would want it.
I want it. It's a lovely little truck, beautiful paint job, and today I have an appointment to get an undercover brand bed cover for it.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say that, share my enthusiasm for the Ford Ranger. Anybody looking for a used truck?
Yeah. I don't know what happened. I don't know why that small truck market went away, because there's a lot of people that still want them. But they don't make, they don't make as many of them anymore. I don't know why did Ford stop making that? I wonder why.
Or maybe you have somebody from Ford calls and tell us.
Look for
because I think they could
have get them in and out of parking lots just as easy as a passenger car. I had it yesterday up in San Luis, and when you're in and out of various parking lots, and it drives. As far as the drivability in the city, it's just like a car.
Yeah, right. What a great multi-purpose vehicle. I think if you don't need, and it's actually a little lighter than an SUV, so probably gets better gas mileage.
Well, they make them with a 3.0 V6 and a 4.0 V6. Mm-hmm. Most everybody I talk to likes the 3.0 or 4.0 V6.
Sure.
It depends. You have to kind of buy a truck to suit your purpose. But this just fits mine perfectly. And I have a small business which I lug around a lot of stuff. So anyhow, it works. I just thought I would say that. But
it's hard to beat being able to just take that bed down and just put stuff in that. That's what's so great about a pickup truck, for so many reasons.
That's
thank
great.
you, Roy.
I love the show. Thanks for talking to me.
Thanks for calling. Thanks for your info. So Roy likes the Ford Ranger. Let's go to Jim in Templeton. Hi, Jim.
Hey, how you doing?
We're good. How are you?
Excellent. When my wife was in high school, we were dating, and the Mercedes 450, or actually it was a 380 the 450 first came out, and she was in love with it. Liked it forever. We never got one. Finally, a few months ago, I bought her an 89 560 SL, which is the last year of that body style. Mm-hmm. It's like mint condition, and I want to keep it that way. Two questions. How much should we drive it? I know you don't want to let them sit completely, but we don't want to wear it out either. So what would be the optimal amount to drive it over the course of the year? And then secondly, there's a minute crack in the dashboard that's just starting. Should I fill that with epoxy? What should I do to keep it from spreading? Anyway, your thoughts.
Good questions. So did you say it was an 89?
Yeah, it's the last. From 72 to 89, they had the same body style.
Okay.
They kept changing the motors. So that was the last year of it.
Cool little sports car.
I can chime in here. I have my dad, actually I don't have one. My dad has a 520 SEL. Mm-hmm. And it's an 86 and it's got 320,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
And now he's had some engine work done to it. But basically the car is the same. And the car pretty much is a daily driver for him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fantastic car. And it's got
320,000 miles. So
yeah,
320,000 miles.
So in answer to your question, I'll first talk about, we talk about use it or lose it. So drive it. I mean, at least it sounds to me like you want to keep low miles on it, and that's what you're concerned about. I would say at least drive it once a week.
Take a long trip once a week.
Yeah, once a week, and don't just start it up in the garage, and don't just drive it around the block, but exactly what Matt said.
Go for lunch.
Go to Morro Bay. Go to Cambria. Yeah. Put like 50 miles on it, something like that every week. Or drive it a couple times a week where you get it out. That car really needs to get out on the freeway. It didn't like to drive too lean. I always had a hard time passing smog, those 560s. Because they want to run richer. So opening it up and getting it out on the freeway is really good for it, number one. So number two, your other question, I'm sorry, what was the other question that you asked?
I have just the beginning of a crack in the dashboard.
Yeah. So there's some products you can call Westside Auto Parts or San Luis Auto Parts, and they'll have a dash repair kit. But also, before you do that, go on YouTube and see. There'll probably be some tutorials on how to fix those properly. You want to do something that's the same color, obviously, it's black, and you want to make it look as seamless as possible. So, fill it up nicely. But yes, the sooner you do that, the more you're going to keep it from cracking open more. And then, obviously, you're keeping that garaged.
Absolutely. Garaged and covered.
Yeah, so keeping it, and then when you go park somewhere, put a inside windshield cover on it. Keep the heat off of the dash. That's what's going to make that crack open up further. Now, the other thing to be careful on. Now, you're talking about a 28-year-old car now.
Right.
And those things had an older style suspension system, so be careful about the safety. I don't know how you had it inspected, but we find that a lot of people buy an older car like that, and it's got some unsafe suspension components on it, like ball joints, control arm bushings, things like that. Those shock bushings. It's a good idea to have a professional inspection and somebody take a look at that stuff.
Well,
and fuel hoses.
Actually, they're not unsafe. But the problem is that car is designed to be lubricated every 3,000 miles.
Yeah.
And if because
probably nobody knows
there's
that.
metal against metal bushings in there, and they need to be lubricated. And so
with a zerk gun, a grease gun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there still is such a thing.
Every 3,000 miles, or if you don't drive the darn thing, then maybe every 3 months.
So if it hasn't had a really good professional service with a lube job and a chassis inspection and a safety inspection, make sure that it gets done.
Well, Mike, glad I called you guys. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Jim. Thank you for your call. Hey, we're going to go to our second break of the day. We are the Motor Mouth Show here with Matt and Jeff, and we'll be back.
Got a classic commercial here from 1973. From Super Bowl 7, actually, for the Goodyear tire commercial.
Introducing the new Goodyear Custom Steel Guard Radio, the 40,000-mile tire with 5 guards to help protect you 5 ways. Guard 1, against rough ride. A shock-absorbing polyester cord body. Guard 2, against penetration under the tread, 2 strong steel belts. Guard 3, against wet skids. A computer-designed tread channels the water from under the tread. Guard 4, against loss of road contact on curves. 2 special outer grooves allow the tread and the sidewall to work independently for firm tread contact. Guard 5, against sluggish handling. Special stabilizers stiffen the sidewall and help allow recovery on sudden turns. Drive the new Goodyear Steel Guard Radio and get the 5-guard feeling of confidence. Only from Goodyear.
When it's time to service your car,
or a warning light is starting to glow,
go see the pros at Absolute Auto.
At the corner of Sacramento and Capitolio.
Having a problem with the brakes or the steering down below?
Or an alignment to adjust the tow?
Computer systems, they do know.
Call 543-8737 to reach Absolute Auto.
Your car's fuel economy was never better than when it was new. But time and miles have robbed your car of its MPG and performance. Service managers recommend BG44K to remove carbon and restore mileage in just 1 tank of fuel. In fact, dealerships nationwide use BG44K almost 3-to-1 over any other product. To find a shop with BG products, go to bgfindashop.com.
BG. Can you imagine selling your car next week and saying to the buyer, hey, don't worry, because the engine is covered against failure for life. It's called the Lifetime Protection Plan for the Engine from BG Products. Now imagine having this huge benefit free with your next oil service when you remember these 2 letters, BG. BGMOA is available at over 20,000 shops nationwide. Find yours at bgfindashop.com. That's bgfindashop.com. BG.
Hi, this is Jeff Spivak, Motormouth co-host and owner of Continental Motor Works. What can you expect here at Continental? We will treat you and your car with care and respect and gratitude. We will bend over backwards to earn your trust. you will fully understand what we are doing on your car and know how much it will cost before we do the work. You will always get value, a fair exchange. You work hard for your money. We believe we should work smarter and harder for what you pay us for. Now in our 36th year, we fix it all. Cars, trucks, SUVs, and hybrids.
Call Jeff at Continental Motor Works at 541-1464. Mention this ad and receive 10% off labor.
Okay, we're back. We're the Motor Mouse. We're here for another 4 minutes. We're going to talk to Jerry. Hi, Jerry. Good morning. We've got about 2 minutes.
Good morning. Real quickly, my son's 98 Corolla lost its brake pedal, and he didn't lose brake fluid, but the brake fluid, for some, the cap on the top of the master cylinder is vented, and it absorbs moisture. The fluid was just jet black.
Did the pedal
and
go to
I can't
the fluid?
overemphasize the importance of flushing or bleeding the brakes as too often rather than too infrequently, because I had to replace the master cylinder. You get a dot of rust in the master cylinder, and those rubber cups just leak horribly.
Well, yeah, that's, once again, very good point. It's the reason that we recommend changing the brake fluid regularly, every 60,000 miles every 5 years.
Every time you do a brake job.
And and you probably never have to do the brake master cylinder if you do that.
You don't.
So once again, same kind of thing. You change the trans fluid, you don't ever have to do the transmission. You change the coolant, you probably don't have to do that water pump that, costs you a lot of money. So you pay me now or pay me later, but very important stuff. So thank you, Jerry. Thanks for bringing that up. And we want to thank all of our callers, Smitty and Brian and Mary and Roy and Jim and Jerry, for making this a great show. We want to thank our sponsors, of course, BG Products. You can look them up at bgfindashop.com, featuring such great products as 44K, fuel cleaner, and synthetic transmission fluids and gear oils for your car. Good stuff. Absolute Auto, go see Jason and Charlotte at the corner of Capitolio in Sacramento. What are they doing over there, Matt, over at Absolute?
Oh, they do everything.
Yeah.
I mean, the harder the job, the better they like it. For example, that Mercedes, for a good lube job, they take it in there, they give you an once over. They do this quite often. And they will lubricate it right, and they will look at it, and they got people
not afraid to take on the hard jobs.
No.
And can do alignments on regular vehicles, on RVs, on trucks. And even maybe work on your tractor if you
it
go
have
talk
3
to Jason.
wheels or more, they will do it.
Yeah, and of course, Continental Motor Works. We're at 1101 Laurel Lane. You can call Jeff at 541-1464. Our hours are 7:30 to 5:30 Monday through Friday. And Bike Slow County, advocating for safer cycling in our county and safer driving and Vision Zero. No more traffic deaths in our county. So we're working toward that. Hey, it's going to be beautiful out there. It might get some rain today, so be careful. Drive a little slower. Use your lights. Use your turn signals, and just take a little bit more heed in the rain.
It's going to be very windy.
Very windy.
Very windy.
Okay. Thanks for listening. Write your Motor Mouth questions down for next week, because Matt and Jeff will be back next Saturday morning to talk with you. Thanks for listening.